Hi guys, I'm just admitting all those people that want to attend. If when you come in, you could put yourself on mute, sorry, on verbal mute. You can open your camera if you wish. We'll be able to have a discussion and have questions later in the meeting. But just for now, we'd like to explain what we're looking to achieve with this meeting and explain the background. So just for the moment, if you could put yourselves on mute, that'd be much appreciated. Thank you. Another point I'd just like to make is that this meeting is being recorded. So just bear that in mind when you make your comments. I'm sure you will. And you can see the agenda there in front of you. So I'll give it a couple of minutes. We're pretty prompt with these meetings, and we've had quite a few people join already. But I'll just give it a couple more minutes until we're sure that everybody who wants to attend has attended, and then we'll get started. Thanks for that. I can see that Ranushka is asking, will we receive the presentation afterwards? The answer is yes, Ranushka. I can send it out to everybody afterwards. And if anybody wants a copy of the recording because they want to share it with colleagues, that's fine as well. So we're still getting a few people joining us. So I'll give it just a couple more minutes and we'll start at 5 minutes past the hour, wherever your hour is. I'm in Toronto at the moment, and it's not as hot as it has been previously, which is great. Okay, I think most people who were looking to attend have already joined. And as a matter of courtesy to the people who did join on time, I suggest we get started, and I'll try and keep my eye on the waiting room and admit people as they attend from now on. So thank you very much indeed for your attendance today, guys. For those of you who haven't met me before, my name is Mike Nevin. I'm the Managing Director of Alliance Best Practice Ltd. And the two other people that will be speaking, that you'll be hearing from on this presentation, it's really a working session rather than a presentation. The two other people are Kevin McCaffrey and Ara Coots, both from Tr3dent. Tr3dent is the organization that has the Transformation Accelerator platform, and it's that platform and the Alliance Best Practice space on it that we're going to be talking about today, and hopefully showing how you can access that, why it might be valuable to you, and also get your feedback on what things you'd like us to develop on that platform in that particular area. So just to bring everybody up to speed, and then I'll pass over to Ara. A little bit of background. So some time ago, probably about a year ago now, Alliance Best Practice put out the idea that we should do some research into originally partner ecosystems. Since then, it's moved slightly to be business ecosystems, not necessarily just partners. So the idea was that we would research best practices in partner ecosystems. And we got a number of people saying they'd be interested in doing that. So we then broke them into working groups and we developed a thing called the Partner Ecosystem Maturity Model. That was the background. The intention was always that we would use this very powerful platform from Tr3dent, and that gives me an opportunity to thank Kevin and Ara for the offer of this platform. We would use this platform to be able to create tools of various natures which would help ecosystem designers, developers, consultants to be able to do their job more easily, give them tools, practical tools that they could use to be able to do their job. So that's what we intended to do. And so this conversation is a follow-on from an earlier conversation we had about 3 or 4 weeks ago, where we had a larger group talking about partner ecosystems generally and the Transformation Accelerator platform more specifically. So to be clear, what we're trying to achieve with this meeting and with the meetings that will hopefully follow on into the future is there are a number of people who have the job of managing or designing or developing ecosystems, partner ecosystems. And by that, I mean a group of different organizations working together towards some kind of common goal, typically additional sales or additional new product development. What we're trying to do is provide those individuals, whether they be consultants, whether they be practitioners, whether they be researchers, the idea is to provide those people with an area that they can go to and find tools which will be useful to them in doing that job. We very much hope that you'll use the Alliance Best Practice area, but if you wanted to use the Tr3dent platform yourself privately for a private area which is specific to yourself, then all you have to do is reach out to Ara Coots after this meeting and suggest that, and she'll set you up with a separate login and login details. Let me just check with my co-hosts. Guys, Kevin, Ara, have I forgot anything, do you think?
No, I think you have covered it well, Mike. Thank you so much. Actually, if I can add, today, just the structure of the meeting, as Mike had mentioned, it is going to be a collaborative working session. That's how we'd like to structure it today, not as much a presentation. So we're going to go through a number of polls with the group here in terms of common best practices, little snippet of the assessment model that you will now all have access to. The only demos we'll really show you today is how to access these workspaces after the meeting, so that you can go in and play. And then what we would like at the end is to get agreement from the group based on the conversation today as to what are the next models, frameworks, tools that you would like to see built into the Alliance Best Practice workspace. We really want this to be an area for people to come together, collaborate, think, and develop knowledge together. So we'd like agreement on the next ones, as today we'll go through the PEM assessment, but what else could we work together next as a group to increase the knowledge collaboratively and collectively, within this group of individuals. So any other comments, Kevin, before we jump into our first poll?
No, I think that's great, Ara. I guess the whole, the catalyst for this was based on the last call, where a lot of people expressed an interest who were, as Mike points out, different practitioners within the whole ecosystem modeling ecosystem, for lack of a better word, and looking at how organizations could better work together, and also both internally and collectively sharing that kind of wisdom and knowledge to help everyone in the longer run with the concept of ecosystem modeling.
Absolutely. Okay, so without further ado, I am just going to quickly jump into, so I spent the last 2 weeks reaching out to the individuals who had attended the previous webinar where we went through technology today, specifically the Tr3dent platform and how it can help you with your strategic planning and your ecosystem planning. And I reached out to each of the individuals who had attended to ask for a few minutes of your time. And we came up with, based on all of the conversations, the common challenges that we've seen from our customers, as well as that we're hearing from you as practitioners in terms of why it's so difficult to manage, design, orchestrate the ecosystem of different players that are required to make business transformations happen. So I'm sure you've heard all of these, but these are the common ones that we've heard, which is that, the strategies are already complex. They get more and more complex the more dimensions that you add to the ecosystem. So you may, a lot of organizations think about it as single dimension now, but really a lot of the gaps and opportunities are looking at the third and fourth dimensions of that ecosystem. So who are within the ecosystems of your ecosystems? The collaboration, now this group of stakeholders gets bigger and bigger. They're not internal, so it gets even harder to make sure that you can collaborate and co-innovate together. Everyone knows applying best practices, but especially in highly regulated environments. We've heard for pharma was one, especially to ensure that you are compliant to the standards. The other big one we're hearing around the compliance space is around the ESG space, which is if we are going to market with our partners and alliances, how do we ensure that our ESG goals and commitments are in alignment with theirs? And then, of course, ensuring that you're not kind of running this all ad hoc, orchestrating that ecosystem of players so that people can come together in the right ways at the right times to co-collaborate. The last one that we've heard from a lot of alliance leaders is how do I measure the value that my ecosystem and community is delivering and developing, both for my organization, but the community as a whole. So those are kind of the different challenges that we're hearing, and these are kind of the areas that we're thinking as areas to explore together with this group in terms of how can we develop frameworks and models to help tackle each of these areas. Mike, if you could run poll number 2, what we would like to hear from you, because we didn't get to meet with every single one of you, unfortunately, due to calendars, is, and if you're not a channel manager, that's okay, just kind of which of these areas of the 5 that I've just shown on the slide deck do you care about? You can check more than one. And then at the bottom, if there's any that I've missed. So what we're really looking for is this is going to help us drive to the end where we, you can't do it all. So let's prioritize and build knowledge bases around each of these one at a time. So if everyone could just take a second and just check off the ones that they care the most about. And then in the space at the bottom, please let us know if I've missed anything.
We'll give people a few minutes there. Ara, we've got 27%, 36% now participated. So we've got quite a number of answers coming through. But if we just give it a couple more minutes so people can understand the questions, because I do appreciate that some of these statements are, well, they're complex, and it takes some time to get your head around which one is more important than the rest. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
So we've got 68% now participating. Ara, if you let me know when you'd like me to end the poll. Obviously, we'll share the results with the group as we go.
I think just another 30 seconds, Mike, and then
okay.
If you could. And then Kevin, in the meantime, if you can get your screen up and running for the next part of the demo on the share, then we can jump into the other parts of the conversation. We only have 30 minutes today, right, Mike?
No, I've booked this meeting for an hour.
Okay, perfect. Okay, do you want to pop up the results, Mike?
Sure. So you should be able to see the results there now, guys. Can you see them?
So two.
You can see them. Okay, so there's some astounding answers, and then there's some new ones added at the bottom, which I can't read, but maybe if Mike, you can, or otherwise we can share those out afterwards.
I think we'll need to share. I think we'll need to share those out afterwards, Zara.
Okay, but from the poll, I can see that the top two ones are about measuring and reporting the value that's being created within the ecosystem, and then fostering co-innovation amongst partners. So I think that maybe we can start with the fostering co-innovation, but maybe the second or third meetings, we can dive deeper into each of these areas. So again, this is going to be a collaborative session. We don't believe we have all of the answers. We have the technology to help this group facilitate and come up with the knowledge, and hopefully support you and maybe your clients to apply this with technology to enable. But really, you know, each of these will be where we reach out to this group to say, can we come together and create knowledge? So Kevin, if you could start, this might be a good time to maybe show the new Alliance Best Practice workspace in Transformation Accelerator that everyone has access to. Everyone who is a part of ABP and a member can definitely access this space for free. So Kevin, do you want to just jump in and show people how they can navigate to and get there?
Sure, yeah, I guess just before we do that, I guess maybe it's worthwhile just opening the floor a little bit, just to see if anybody had any other comments on those challenges that the responses that came through, or any other points before I jump in. Nope.
I'll repeat my one thing that I'm most interested in for ecosystem partners. From the moment they get together, how long does it take for them to really understand, hey, what does each ecosystem partner do?
Yeah, because I guess before you can even innovate, you need to have some idea of what each person is, and it kind of leads to value as well, as, you know, who's doing what, and what are the types of interactions that exist between those stakeholders, and getting that kind of fundamental understanding first. That's a good point. And any other comments? Okay, so let me just share my screen here. So a couple of things that I wanted to point out, and we can kind of talk about this in our, you know, direct me as needed in terms of the specifics. But one of the things that we have worked with Mike is the creation of a private workspace within our platform for the Alliance Best Practices group, and basically it's a closed workspace that's open by invitation. So essentially what will happen is people can be invited to join, and when they log in, it'll show them a collection of existing projects, and these are example projects that we've got. But in addition to that, there's, you know, within the platform, you have the ability to create a project which would be a collaborative project that we may use for working on specific templates or best practices or tools that we think could be helpful for the whole concept of ecosystem modeling. But in addition to that, one of the elements that we did work with Mike was taking the partner ecosystem maturity model and making that available within the Alliance Best Practices area as a questionnaire for people to respond to. But also that same content can be made available for people to use in their own private workspaces as well. So at the moment, what I'll do is I'll just show you the assessment that's in there from the partner ecosystem maturity model. And I think those of you that participated in that will find areas of familiarity with that. So if we just open up that for a moment, basically what will happen is when people come in and they want to use the partner ecosystem maturity model, it basically is broken into these different dimensions. So under strategy, it talks about, you know, why do you want to create a simple, do you use a simple SWOT analysis? And, you know, people can tick whatever they want in here. But as you go through this, it basically takes the content that was created in the Excel spreadsheet and makes it available from a, let's say, a survey kind of point of view for people to use. And, you know, each person that's invited within the Alliance Best Practices workspace will be able to complete this and then we can, what we will do is aggregate all of those results and then be able to present it back, because it'll also provide a useful way of looking at those areas that are of particular interest or particular concern to people.
Kevin, can I just pause you 1 second and make
Sure.
a couple of things crystal clear? I'm just conscious that there are some people on the call who were involved in the original partner ecosystem maturity model, or PEM as we call it, research, but there are also some that weren't. So the thing that you're showing on the screen now is available to everybody on this call. So Ara has said we'll send out a note after this meeting to everybody to be able to tell them how to get to this page. Now, when you go to that page, what you'll be faced with is essentially a questionnaire. So you can either take that questionnaire yourself for your own organization, or if you're a consultant, you can use it as a tool to help one of your clients understand where they're up to with their ecosystem. And the assessment is broken into 6 areas. Kevin's just gone very quickly through the first 2, strategy and culture, but there are actually 6 areas. So again, you can either do the full assessment and do all 6 areas, or you could pick an area that is of particular interest to you. So as Kevin's showing you, here are the 6 areas on the screen, and you can see the underlying capabilities, as we would call them, that make up that particular area. The hope is, and the expectation is, that as we collect more data into this central area, that database will be available to all. So we're not going to be sharing any sensitive information. We're not going to be sharing any reports that say EY did this, or Capgemini did that, or Atos did this, or any of the individuals that are on this call did X, Y, and Z. That won't happen. Your data is secure and it won't be shared. But the power of collaboration is that if you do one of these assessments, you'll be able to compare your assessment to the results of the others that have put their assessments into this mini database. And you'll be able to see not just whereabouts you are now, but you'll be able to see some of the challenges and some of the successful strategies to overcome those challenges that other people have used to move from one level of maturity to the next. I hope that's clear. Sorry, Kevin, I just wanted to make sure that everybody was really aware of that.
So Mike, just to again reiterate, your personal information will not be shared. Your personal results will not be shared. It would be an aggregated. So as a community, this is how most people, we might break it out into industries or types. I know, Kristen, you had a question about, you know, about consultants versus businesses. So again, this survey can also evolve as well. So please give us feedback as you go through it in terms of, are there categories and data in terms of how you'd like to understand it on an aggregate level and then be able to compare it. Mike, a question for you before Kevin goes any further, as Kristen had asked, is this for individual interaction or with a client, or would it be made publicly to drive people in? What are your thoughts there?
Well, I've just posted in the chat that I'm happy to make it public. I mean, this is the essence of collaboration. So we need to make it absolutely crystal clear that you get value by getting a report that is specific to your particular situation. So you will see the full results of your particular situation. But at the same time, just as Alliance Best Practice Limited, my company, has done for the last 20 years, we've been running benchmarks and assessments on alliances for 20 years. And our clients trust us not to share that sensitive information with other potential competitors. So we won't be doing that. But if there are groups within this community that want to work together on some common areas, then we're back to Kevin's point that he showed when he first came into the platform, which is you as members can set up your own areas of research that you'd like to see research. And we can hopefully use the Alliance Best Practice community to drive, as Christine put it, or attract, as I would like to put it, attract people to be involved in some of those research initiatives. Now, this approach is not something that we've just dreamed up overnight. One of the things that I particularly like about the Transformation Accelerator platform is that Kevin has already used this platform with a very considerable organization called the TM Forum. And the TM Forum is significantly more mature than our community. So we can learn from that, and we can learn from what they've done. And what they have done is what we're suggesting we should start doing. So as you can see on the screen here, you've got individual placeholders for areas of research, which may be interesting to individuals. Now, if you're a large organization like an EY or a Capgemini or an IBM or a Genesis or whoever you are, you may wish to have some of these as private research areas and keep all that research private to yourself. That's fine. No problem at all. But if you do get any results, or if you do get any insights or conclusions that you're prepared to share with Alliance Best Practice, then you can put it into the Alliance Best Practice area, and we can start to create useful templates such as, if you're looking to develop the culture of collaboration in your ecosystem, what should you do? Somebody may have researched that specific area, and they may have come up with some good ideas. Now, without sharing any of the competitive information, they may well wish to share those good ideas with this group in a sanitized manner. And so when a member of the group comes in and says, hey, that looks like a challenge that I might have, they can click on that template and it will give them a ready-made template for how you go about doing that thing. Is that okay, Kevin? I haven't misrepresented the TM Forum and the way the Catalyst program works there.
No, not at all. I think the interesting thing with what the TM Forum have done is that they've been able to put what may seem strange, but companies that are highly competitive in the marketplace working together to actually come up and solve problems that are for the benefit of all. So it's interesting, and quite many of those are on the vendor side. So when you get organizations, whether it be a Salesforce, a ServiceNow, an Ericsson, an Nokia, all collaborating on a particular project that is going to be, solve a problem in their space, they're looking at the longer term view, and they're working together in this kind of a shared IP mode where they're saying, well, look, this is for the best interest of us all, because it's going to make life easier for us and for our customers, and provide greater value. So it is quite an interesting situation when when you see those teams working so effectively together. And this concept is something that they've been doing for about 10-15 years, and previously they tried to do it through things like PowerPoint and Excel, which obviously all have their limitations. So one of the example projects we're looking at here about this collaboratively model and ecosystem was something that came about, is a use case from that, where they worked in this collaborative space, and then at the end of it they said, this works, let's make it public. And then it becomes a shared use case that everyone within the telco community that's a member of the TM Forum can then use. So their principle is that the best practices and standards are driven from the members rather than dictated from above. And quite often it's a case of how do you apply them to make it effective. And and you know, we can look at, you know, when I look at this particular example that they did, if let me just jump back to the overview. They didn't have, for example, the partner ecosystem maturity model to assess, well, people we're bringing on board, well, you know, how's that going to run? Or for ecosystems, you know, a key common theme is around orchestrated ecosystems and ensuring that you're able to manage effectively the partners that are coming in there. So these guys, it was a technology project, but it started as a high level by looking at, you know, we need to build an ecosystem to prove, you know, to help improve customer experience. And this was coming from what they call a champion, which was, in this case, Jaguar Land Rover, saying, hey, we've got a fleet of EV vehicles coming out, and we need to look at building an ecosystem that can provide better value to our end customers and users. And how would we do that? And what was interesting was, in many ways, they started with a lot of the basics that we all would be familiar with about the vision, the problem statement, the drivers, and even down to the business model. But then ultimately they went and they said, well, we collaboratively, they met and they worked together on visualizing. Let me just get rid of the hotel for a second. On visualizing the high level ecosystem that would show those interactions. So if we kind of come back to the poll around, you know, fostering collaboration and how that's an important for innovation or for revenue. The important thing is having a clear understanding up front and being able to communicate. And what these guys did, they had, I think, about 45 people working on the project across 6 different companies, 8 different time zones. So they were able to collaboratively say, well, first thing, we want to get a picture of what this ecosystem is going to look like at a high level. What types of interactions are there going to be, and who's doing what? So back to, I think Alan who raised the point was around, well, you know, understanding the roles of these people and how it ties back to things like the problem statements, the vision, and even more lower level, it could be about onboarding and others. So this visual representation is quite important, but, you know, associated with each of these blocks, which are essentially the stakeholders, there can be a whole range of other information that you would have done through assess. So one of the things that we're really going to want people to do is actually to get into the product and start working and collaborating along these lines. So I'm just going to pause there and just see if there was anything further Ari or the others wanted to add.
Yeah, thanks for the high level, Kevin. So we're definitely not going to go into a demo of the tool, but I mean, it's pretty intuitive. So again, we will email everybody a link. You can create your username and password, and then you can go in and play with any of the samples that you're seeing on the screen, as well as go in and complete the maturity assessment to give you a flavor of it. Mike and team have put together a quick 4 questions, so you can kind of get an idea of kind of what you're getting into. But of course, this is a Zoom poll, so Mike, if you can run it, I think it's number 1 on your list. And this is not going to give you the output in terms of how you compare and how you score against others in different areas, but it's just to give you a little flavor. So we're going to just jump one in. And again, we'll send you a link on how you can access the ABP workspace and instructions on how to get in to the maturity model as well, so you can complete the full one yourself. But
so
please go through these 4.
So I've launched the poll, Lara. So just while the poll is running, if you could fill that in now, that'd be great. But just to explain what you're looking at. So we talked about there being a partner ecosystem maturity model. And we talked about there being 6 areas. So what we've done is we've taken one area and we've taken some of the questions from that area. And this is what this poll is about here. Just for clarity, let me ask Kevin a question. Kevin, you were just demoing the various areas on the platform. Will the people on this call be able to see what you've just shown us themselves when they sign in?
Yes, is the short answer. One of the things within the product is there's even, in the Alliance Best Practice area, people will be able to look at the assessment and also be able to look at the example projects that are in there and actually create their own projects if they wanted to. The one thing I would point out is that this will be done within the umbrella of the Alliance Best Practices. So, you know, it's secure within that area, and it's under that workspace. But if people wanted to do something that's, you know, more sensitive and they wanted to keep that out of that space, then, as Ara pointed out, there is the opportunity for people to do that and have their own private workspace, or both. You can be a member of both the Alliance Best Practice and have your own private workspaces.
Yeah, sure. So I'm sure like me, some people on this call are looking at that and thinking, crikey, it's not that there's not enough stuff there, there's almost too much stuff there. How the heck do I get started? Will Tr3dent, the organization, yourself and Ara, will you and the rest of your team be providing any support to people who want to get started? Can they be given a guided tour, or can we organize some sort of session? You know, I'm conscious that we want people to use it, but they may be intimidated by the range of functionality that's on there. What are your thoughts on how we can help from that point of view?
So yes, we'll help those organizations in the same way as we're currently working with 15-20 teams within the telco space and bringing them on board. So it's part of the way we engage. There's quite a lot of tours and features within the product to help people get going. But I would agree, you know, spending half an hour or an hour with somebody like myself or Ara or one of the other guys will get people up to speed and quickly. And you know, it's like anything, you know, you'd start off kind of small and then go from there. But one of the things that is important within the product is we have a large range of use cases and examples within there and templates that people can use. That contains quite a lot of information to help them get going. But also, you know, we can also help, you know, we will also can make the partner ecosystem maturity model, that content available within their workspace as well, should they so wish to use that assessments or those questions for engaging with their particular clients also. Okay,
I think we've had all the answers to the poll that we're going to get. Ara, are you happy that I share the results?
Yeah, please share. And then we have one more poll, everyone, and then we're going to open the floor a little bit. So as you can see, again, collectively, you can see how you're scoring, and this is very high level on Zoom, but then the idea is to get a report back on not just every specific answer, but see how you score more aggregately against the group. And hopefully, like you mentioned, Christine, great idea. If we make this public, we can then start to categorize it across industries and different areas. So that's, again, the idea and what we want to support Kevin and ABP in achieving in terms of increasing knowledge and collaboration in this space. So final poll, Mike, if you don't mind. This is more, and then we'll open the floor up for conversation, but this is more, if you found this type of working session, I'll just go through each of the questions as you fill it out. So did you enjoy the nature of the conversation today? You know, obviously, thank you, Mike, for, and thank you, Kevin. It's a free workspace for everyone in this community to go and work. Do you want access to the maturity model? And do you want access, what type of access do you want to the workspace? Do you just want access to the ABP workspace? Do you want access to a free private workspace? Or if you don't need that, that's cool, and you already have the tools, that's great. We'll just reach out on an ad hoc basis for your feedback as needed. Really what we're looking for is, based on this and your review, is to get this group or a smaller group together to work through the first poll that we worked through in terms of each of the challenges, and then to come back with a tool that we can share with the group to say, okay, to support you in this challenge, this is what the community has put out with regards to best practice dashboards, frameworks, assessments. But Mike, if you want to elaborate on that last piece, that would be awesome.
The only elaboration I would make is I'm just looking at the votes as they're coming in. We've got about 50% at the moment. So if you haven't answered the poll, it would be really useful if you could, please. The only elaboration I would make is that Ara gave you one option, which was, no, I don't need the platform. I have a comprehensive understanding of our ecosystem maturity. And so far, with 12 votes in, nobody has ticked that particular option. Nobody has said, I have a comprehensive understanding of our ecosystem maturity. And whilst it doesn't surprise me, I think it's very powerful. So if you haven't filled in the poll, if you could just take a couple of seconds to fill in that poll now, because it will help us tremendously in deciding how many people we have involved or want to be involved in the work groups, how structured we need to be, how flexible we can be, whether we want to sub-delegate or sub-segregate certain groups to work on certain areas to be able to have more tools, more available more quickly. And just to go back to something Kevin showed, if you imagine one of the challenges that came back from you as individuals when Ara polled you or spoke to you before this meeting, one of the challenges was a visualization of what your ecosystem looks like. Well, Kevin clearly showed you that you can create one working picture of that. The beauty of the platform and the way the word modeling comes into the equation is that, as Kevin showed, each of those elements on that screen was an entity, and you could drill down, you could click on that thing and then develop rules and criteria for what that entity was. So one partner would not be quite the same as another partner. One commercial model that was in existence might not be the same as another commercial model. The other powerful thing is that it's not limited to you as an individual or you as an organization doing it for yourself. You can very easily share your space or your picture with your partners and invite them to contribute. So particularly when you're working in different time zones, or particularly when setting up meetings is difficult these days, and we all know how busy everybody is, there is a common workspace where when people have time, they can access that area and put in what they would like their commercial model to be, or put in their answers to certain key questions that you've raised. And I think I'm right in saying, Kevin, that there's an interactivity here in that when you allow those people to access that area, if you ask them a question or if you ask for some content from them, it alerts them to the fact that a request has been made. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's, not dissimilar to kind of a LinkedIn where you get a message or you get a notification and it pings you to let you know, and you can respond and you can message individuals or teams of people as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
okay.
there's a range of we just saw a couple of screens, but as part of that onboarding, we go through that, and we've been working, going back to your point on the TM forum, the platform has been used for the last 4 years or so by those teams. So there's a lot of knowledge gained on what's been effective for them working together, how they collaborate. And I think fundamentally, a lot of it comes down to communication and being able to take something that's quite complex and make it digestible and consumable.
Yeah. So I think I've had most of the responses that we're going to get. So I've stopped the poll and I've shared the results. Ara, can you see those results?
Yes, I can. Thank you, Mike.
Good. So shall we open it up for questions from the audience?
Or comments. I like comments,
or comments
too.
Yeah. So to get the ball rolling, let me invite Stuart Wasilowski from Cornerstone On Demand. I know, Stuart, we've corresponded on a number of occasions. I know you've used some of the previous Alliance Best Practice materials to create your own tools that you use in your own ecosystem. How do you envisage yourself using this area? How would you see it working?
As I think about the partner strength matrix that you alluded to, and the previous work you had done in this area, I think this kind of tool and strategy enables us to work as a group rather than me presenting my ideas and then a colleague presenting their ideas. The collaboration tool here, or the collaborative nature of this tool should provide a richer conversation, and the prospect of being able to pull in partners to experience that as well, I think it adds some nuance to it that really could create a lot of synergy around ideas and how we move forward.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very good point, Stuart. Thank you for that. The idea of being able to actively involve your partners and get them involved in expressing what they're trying to get out of the situation is very, very important. Thank you for that. Let me pick on somebody else. Darren McGee. I know you're just about to join a new company. I don't know whether that's public knowledge yet, but if it is, maybe you could share with the group who that is. But you're just about to join a new company. You're just about to get involved in a whole new set of partnerships and alliances. How do you perceive yourself using it, or will you be actively using it?
Yeah, I think I will, and it's a good question, Mike. At the moment, I'm trying to map that out in my mind. So I'd written to Kevin while we were on this call. The role I'm taking is I'm moving to Kyndryl, which is it's a spin out of IBM Global Services, and it's taking over Alliance Business Development. And for me, it's actually how do we put some proper governance around the selection of partners, but also the winding down of partners that aren't performant. So it's I definitely will be using it, but I'm at that kind of norming part in my head.
Okay. Yeah,
hugely powerful stuff, without a shadow of a doubt.
All right. Thanks for that. Mika Rautinainen. I always struggle over your second name, Mika. I do apologize. But I know that you have an interest in this area. I know that you're active in Finland. Would you like to share with the group your thinking about this and how you see yourself using it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, during last couple of weeks, we have been discussing multiple clients about the PEM actually. Okay. And also with our partners in our small ecosystem, we have been discussing about building up the larger ecosystem for ecosystems. So in that sense, I'm really interested about it, and looking forward to see more collaboration between all of us.
When you say all of us, you mean the individuals on this call and in the ABP community? Is that what you mean?
With the ABP community by itself, but also with, as Christine asked, is there how many of us are actually consultant? That would be really interesting information for funnel also.
Yeah. Well, you've mentioned Christine, and Christine has been active on the chat. So can I invite her to say any words? Christine, do you feel you can make any comments at this point?
Oh, I can always make comments, whether they're appreciated or not. No, I am very interested by this, obviously, by the points that I've just jumped in with. I don't have to tell anybody that would be sitting on a call like this what a hot topic this is right now, right? In our communities, across all of us, whether we're consultants or we have partner roles at our companies. I've been trying to look at each of you a little bit, or send connections with you on LinkedIn while we've been chatting.